The life and death of Bobby Kennedy is one of the great legends of American political history. But who was the woman who stood by his side? The Kennedy family is one of the most powerful and prestigious dynasties in American history. You would be hard-pressed to find a family in the world of U.S. politics that wields as much influence or has acquired quite as much money as this one. When the family arrived in America from Ireland in the 1840s, they became heavily involved in politics. Over the following decades, the Kennedy family produced multiple congressmen, an attorney general, and a United States president. In addition to having a long line of direct descendants, some individuals who married into the Kennedy family also contributed to its legacy. Take Ethel Kennedy, for example. Ethel married Robert Kennedy in 1950 and stood by him as he pursued his political aspirations. Unfortunately, within 5 years of her marriage, tragedy had struck her life in a number of different ways. Ethel Kennedy was born Ethel Skakel in Chicago, Illinois in 1928. Her father worked his way to the top of the railroad industry, resulting in the family becoming very wealthy. Due to her family's money, Ethel was afforded a life of relative luxury and eventually attended the Manhattanville College of the Sacred Heart. There, she would become friends with Jean Kennedy, who introduced her to her brother Robert. The couple got married on June 17, 1950, and moved to Washington, D.C. when Robert Kennedy got a job with the Department of Justice. They started their family in 1951, while Robert was working alongside his brother, John F. Kennedy, on his political aspirations. While Ethel navigated motherhood, calamity befell her family in 1955 when both of her parents perished in a plane crash. Sadly, the untimely deaths of her parents wasn't the last loss she would suffer. Following the loss of her parents, Ethel and her husband purchased a mansion known as Hickory Hill in Virginia. Their home soon became the place to be, as the family hosted countless events and parties, with politicians, actors, and other celebrities in attendance. In addition to hosting these parties, Ethel became increasingly involved in politics, beginning in 1957 with her husband's appointment as chief counsel to the Senate Select Committee. She also joined the campaign trail for her brother-in-law as he made a run for the White House. John F. Kennedy was elected the 35th President of the United States in 1960. However, his historic tenure as the youngest president to ever be elected was cut short by an assassin's bullet on November 22, 1963. The death of JFK was not just a personal tragedy for Ethel, but for the nation as a whole.
I will repeat with the greatest regret, 2 priests who were with President Kennedy say he has died of bullet wounds.
Despite the horrors of JFK's assassination, the Kennedy family was determined to press on in the world of politics. This was particularly true for Ethel and Robert Kennedy. Following the death of his brother, Robert decided to run for a seat in the United States Senate, and his wife was right by his side. In 1968, after successfully winning a Senate seat, Robert decided to run for president. Ethel accompanied him on the campaign trail, despite being pregnant with the couple's 11th child. When he won the California Democratic primary, Robert should have been well on his way to winning the White House. Unfortunately, Robert was shot on June 5, 1968, and succumbed to his wounds the following day. Ethel would give birth to their last child, a daughter, just a few months later.
A lot of wonderful children to be with.
After the death of her husband, Ethel raised her family and began to make her own contributions to the public, carrying on her husband's legacy. One of her most notable accomplishments was founding the Robert F. Kennedy Memorial Center for Human Rights, which carries on her husband's work through journalism and human rights advocacy. Yet more misfortune struck Ethel's life when her son David died of a drug overdose in 1984. He had watched his father's assassination on TV and battled addiction afterward. In 1997, she lost another son, Michael, in a skiing accident. Ethel's pain would extend beyond her immediate family, too, as a number of other Kennedys have died in tragic circumstances over the years. In spite of all of the many losses that she suffered, Ethel Kennedy still fought for the causes that her husband championed. She has contributed greatly to the Kennedy family legacy and continues to serve as an inspiration.